let's go live to O'Rourke's Public House for the Brian Kelly Radio Show. Here's your host, Jack Nolan.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a full house crowd here at O'Rourke's Public House and the Brian Kelly Radio Show. I'm Jack Nolan, joined as always by the head coach of the Fighting Irish, Brian Kelly, and this is really the one time during the course of the week that you can take a little breath because all the hard preparations been done. You can kind of recharge tonight and then 2 very busy days as you get ready to take on the number 2 ranked team in the country.
Yeah, today was perfect practice Thursday, and we tried to duplicate as many of the situations that you're going to go over on the road. It's really our first road game. You know, certainly we played at Lucas Oil Field. You would have to say that, geez, when you travel to New York play at Syracuse, that must be a road game, but not so much. We have such a great Subway alumni following in New York. So this will be a partisan crowd, so loud music, first time on grass. So a lot of that preparation, we had to really get that going this week. I thought our kids were acclimated to it as best they can. Now you just got to go play the game.
And for folks who don't know, you do have a grass field in the LeBar practice complex, and I could tell by the position of the cameras you spent as much time over in that grass field this week as you could.
We did. Tuesday was a little wet, so we don't want to get over there and get anybody hurt. So Wednesday and Thursday today, we did most of our work over there. And again, I think our guys feel comfortable there. We got a lot of our special teams work done there. You'll talk to Kyle a little bit. I think our kickers were there all week kicking, so I think they feel comfortable there. So again, I think that's probably the one transition that we had to make was getting on grass, and we piped in that war chant. I certainly don't want to hear it anymore. So hopefully we'll keep them out of the end zone. We won't hear that much because we heard it a lot this week.
I think your players agree with that. It's great motivation to keep them out of the end zone so they don't have to hear it again.
Yeah.
I suppose it's not an ideal situation to play your first true real road game in one of the toughest environments in college football in front of a rabid fan base. What can you do to prepare your team as best as possible for that? And how much of an impact can it have in the game? I mean, do fans overblow the home field advantage a little bit? By the same token, the noise level, I think, can have a real impact, especially on your offense.
Yeah, I think that those things are neutralized because we're, a no-huddle offense and we're all signal-based. We'll do some things with nonverbal cadence, but I'm not really concerned about that. We could get a little skittish here with a snap infraction, but that's not really going to be the issue. It's really going to be about our execution, and if we execute, we're going to be fine. We've played, I think, in the loudest environment in Michigan 2 years ago with over 105 or 107,000. So we've been in those environments before. I'm not as concerned about the noise. What I'm most concerned about is taking care of the football, tackling, not giving up the big play. Because I think our kids are mature enough to handle the circumstances. We play in front of 81,000, so they know what that visually looks like, and they know if you don't play well, the fans are going to be loud, and they're not going to be pulling for you. So if we're locked in and focused, that's not as a huge concern for me.
And certainly when you have things rolling here at Notre Dame, the fans' bar is raised. So based on some of the questions I got, you'd think you were 0-6 at this point after they saw the North Carolina game. But you have to put that in perspective.
Yeah.
You took on a Carolina team that was averaging 36 points a game, and you gave them 21.
Right, we gave them 21. So, do the math from there. I mean, if we play cleaner on offense, this game is 50-16 or 20, and everybody's going, wow, what a juggernaut. And then we go into this game, and, there's no questions. We knew there were going to be times where, we were going to have to, say, hey, there's some young players here that need to catch up on some of the experience end of things. And, quite frankly, there were some new occurrences that happened that put our guys in some compromising positions, but they learned from them. And that's really the most important thing. There was nothing that happened in that game that gives me great concern other than we have some inexperienced players, and you can't turn the football over. If you take away the turnovers, we're still going to play with some young players, and that's not going to change.
And certainly you spent a lot of time this week, as you do every practice. Your team's here and I think throughout your career have been known for protecting the football.
Yeah.
This is an aberration, and it's an aberration for Everett, but that doesn't mean you ignore it. I know you did a lot of things this week to try to make those situations go away.
Yeah, there's always going to be situations where you evaluate, is it just the quarterback? Because a couple of them are, the route is too long, and it should have been a shorter route, and the protection broke down. And so those things have to be evaluated. But when it comes to ball security, I think Everett understands that, when it's time for contact, he has to secure the football, and he worked on it all week. So that's really all I can ask for, is somebody that is taking it to heart and is serious about getting better at it. And everybody should know that, he worked at it all week. He worked with the running backs. We worked on, really putting the ball away during contact. So here's a young guy that, really has taken to the fact that he doesn't want to turn the football over either. And he's concerned about it, and he's working on it, and I expect him to be better for it.
When you studied Florida State this whole week, what things jumped out at you from the tape?
Well, I think if you start on offense, great balance. Very, very rarely do you find the balance that they have. A great offensive line, a veteran. Remember, we played them 3 years ago with a bunch of freshmen on the offensive line. Now this is a senior group. So a great veteran offensive line. A very good tight end. Maybe arguably one of the best in the country. I think we've got a pretty darn good one in Ben Koyack. So very good tight end. Outstanding wide receiver speed on the perimeter. Depth at the running back position, and one of the best quarterbacks in the country. So, they've got all the pieces. There's no weakness on the offense. Across the board, they can run it, throw it. They can work inside, outside. So, that's problem number one. Problem number two is they're extremely athletic on defense, and, they keep the pressure on you every single down. It's not a defense that sits back. They're going to keep the pressure on you every down. And what they have, really done is they've forced offenses to break. And when they break, they take the ball away, and then they separate from you because they're so good on offense.
And as we wrap up this segment, we can also put to rest the Frozen Five. And tonight you, in response to a question, were able to confirm that one of them, Eiler Hardy, will be rejoining the team after the Florida State game.
That's right. Eiler will come back to us after the Florida State bye week, and then, get him acclimated back into the program, and we'll take it to the next step from there.
All right. We have lots of questions for Coach Kelly. We'll get to some of them right after this timeout. The Brian Kelly Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House, presented by TireRack.com. Welcome back to the Brian Kelly Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House. In addition to getting ready for Florida State, the players have been taking exams all week, so we decided to get them up here so that they can get out and get a little rest for somewhat of a big game coming up this weekend. But in case you didn't know, that's kicker Kyle Brindza. This is tight end Ben Koyack. And this is a coach who spends a lot of time with them, both tight ends and special teams coach Scott Booker. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Appreciate having me.
First of all, talk a little about this guy who has set a career high for catches this year and has one very important touchdown catch to his credit this season. How has he developed in terms of stepping up to take on the very important role of being the tight end at Notre Dame?
Yeah, obviously that is a featured role at the University of Notre Dame, and very proud of Ben. He's played as a true freshman because of some injuries, and you can just see his growth from his freshman, sophomore, and junior, and now his senior year. And he really takes everything seriously, and he does a great job of preparation day in and day out, and he really sets a great example for the young tight ends that we have.
And I think people have a tendency to take it for granted, but talk about the great weapon that Kyle Brindza is doing, the things he's doing for you, and the great weapon he is for you, because there aren't a lot of kickers in college football that handle all the kicking and do it as successfully as he has so far.
It's hard for anybody that follows Notre Dame football to take him for granted. He's done a great job for us. Again, he's played as a true freshman, and you could just see his development from a kickoff specialist to a field goal and kickoff specialist, and now doing all three jobs and doing them at such a high level. And you could see the growth that he did Obviously kicking off and field goal kicking were his main strengths, and then you could see the growth that he's had in the punting aspect. And it's become a big weapon for us. Obviously, last week we were able to hold a great punt return team to negative 13 yards in return yards, and that has a lot to do with Kyle.
Now we have a fan question for you, Ben. Describe your game-winning catch against Stanford.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty incredible. I just had a corner route, and I saw one of the guys go to the flats, and I saw the safety in the middle of the field. And I was just running towards the corner, and I kind of saw Everett as I was breaking out and realized I was wide open. So I just had confidence that the line was going to give him time and that Everett was going to put the ball where it needed to be. And, yeah, and he did, and obviously the rest was history.
It got there with about a half second to spare because when they discovered that they had neglected to cover you, it looked like ants going to the anthill there. Did it seem to you like the ball was in the air for a long time?
Yeah, it kind of felt like the ball was in the air for about an hour. I mean, I knew the corner was coming back up. I knew the safety was coming from the middle of the field, so I was just concentrating on, looking the ball in.
Now, Kyle is tied with John Carney for the most field goals in a career for a Notre Dame player. He's kicked 51 field goals. He also handles the punting, averaging over 40 yards per punt. He has 31 touchbacks in 40 kickoffs this year, and I think that sometimes goes unnoticed, but that is a huge weapon. And you might be most proud of the fact that you have 10 career tackles.
Yeah, I mean, kickers don't really get much tackles, but, we put in our work as kickers and punters, and this year, Booker's actually made us do some tackling drills, so I've gotten on a couple of those. How
good is he? Because Scott played defensive back at Kent State. So how good a tackler is your kicker?
Let's just say his right leg is much better than his tackling skills.
I think a lot of people may not realize this, but because you haven't talked about it a lot, but I think it's remarkable. But you were born with a club foot. Mm-hmm. They said you'd never be able to walk normally,
yes, sir,
let alone become a Division I kicker. And it's your kicking leg that had this abnormality. Talk about, you went through 3 surgeries. Talk about what you have had to fight through to get to this level.
Well, I've actually gone through about 7 or 8 surgeries,
wow,
give or take. But, growing up, my mom was always told the stories of, people with club foot. They never turned out right. Either their leg was shorter, the foot was messed up, or just went back to the old ways of being a club foot, turned inside. So my mom was always very kind of frantic about all that and what's going to happen later on. But being a kid, you can't think of anything or, even listen to the doctors like that. So my mom just let me do what I wanted to do. And, I played sports all my life. And I might have been the Forrest Gump in braces, ankle braces, but, it never got to me, and I just kept playing sports.
You were a soccer player as well, and I guess it came down to Michigan and Notre Dame. But you were born in Valpo, so what pushed the tide to Notre Dame?
Well, it was kind of simple. Coach Kelly was at Cincinnati. One of the biggest reasons I only looked at Cincinnati was just because of the coaching staff. So when they came here, it was kind of just given to me because I grew up a Notre Dame fan. I was born right down the road. My grandfather actually graduated from here, got his MBA. So, I mean, when he got here, he recruited me, gave me that offer. It was simple.
Now, Ben, you're now on the Mackey Award midseason watch list. That's kind of like the second qualification. You were on the preseason. What is it like to be the tight end at Notre Dame now? Because I think in the last decade or so, you can fairly say that of all the college football teams, Notre Dame's become tight end you because of the way they use the tight end and the great players that have played this position for this team.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great honor, to be a part of that. It's something you hear about all the time, especially playing here, but it's just another reason to stay motivated and to keep coming to work every single day. I was lucky enough to play under guys like Tyler and Troy, so I just try to emulate what they did. They came to work every single day. They put in all the effort, even on some of those tough days, where sometimes it's hard, to bring your A game. And they always brought it in. They always worked hard, so I just try to emulate that.
Scott, they talk a lot about the chemistry among players, but you've been on this staff since Coach Kelly got here in your current position for the last 3 years. What's the chemistry like on this coaching staff? Because it seems to be a really tight, cohesive coaching staff.
Yeah, it is. We spend a lot of time together, especially during the season. And we all have one goal, and that's to make sure that our guys, or actually two goals, make sure that our guys graduate, and then also make sure that, we're successful on the field. And so it starts from the top with Coach Kelly, making sure that he brings in guys onto the staff that work well together. And then it just trickles down with the coordinators and then the assistant coaches, graduate assistants, and then everybody else too. It's not just the coaching staff, but it's our training staff and our weight staff, and everybody else really contributes to helping these young men succeed on and off the field.
I know Coach used to talk a lot about the next man in philosophy he brought with him, and I think that's really come to the fore this year because this team's had a lot of adversity from a personnel standpoint and injuries and losing key guys, and yet it seems that regardless of what happens and even if there are turnovers, that they figure out a way to win. Is that just the culture around this program right now?
Yes, and it's been building for 5 years. That's not something that just happens overnight. You can see that culture taking place and guys making sure that they're ready to go in and they know that there's a standard at each position, offense, defense, and special teams, that they have to hold up. And so they understand that everybody is counting on them to do their job, and when it's their turn to do it, they do it.
What do you guys sense in terms of it doesn't seem to matter what? I mean, your touchdown catch was, I think, 3rd and 13.
Fourth down,
right?
I'm
sorry, 4th and 13. So it's a long yardage situation. It's 4th down. And, even looking at Everett's eyes on the replay, everybody, it was like you were just running a play in practice, and there was no doubt that was going to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's confident in their abilities, especially on a play like that. We have 5 great linemen who are going to give our quarterback time. We have, 5 guys split out who can all make a play. So we all like to run our routes like we're going to get the ball every single time. And again, that's that mentality we bring every single day to practice. So when we practice like that, it makes it executing in the games that much easier.
And certainly Stanford game, it was coming down to the wire, and you'd had some issues with the snap on your first 2 field goal attempts. Then the longest one from 45 yards, which you really needed, same thing, executed flawlessly. There was no doubt. I mean, I could tell as soon as you kicked it, you looked up and said, yeah, got that done.
Yeah. I mean, it's just confidence. I always say it, even coaches say it, you do it 1,000 times in practice, why can't you do it right now? I mean, it's just 80,000 people around you, done it 1,000 times, just do it again. And, just being able to rely on everybody. And, our biggest philosophy is count on me, so you just got to be able to count on each other.
There's a real interesting feature on Kyle that we posted today on WatchMD that you may want to watch, but he lifted up his shirt, and he was wearing a T-shirt that said, punters are people too. But it is part of the football culture that everybody jokes that kickers aren't real football players and they're supposed to kick and whatnot. But certainly I don't get that sense that that's the way this team really even rigged you. Maybe because as much as I know Coach was a little bit critical of your tackling style, you've rocked a few people in your career. And you were 4th. You were in the top 4 in the 225-pound bench press. There aren't a lot of kickers who can do that.
Not at all. I mean, Ben Turk before me was strong, and, I've always had a mindset of, you're a part of this team. So in and out of the weight room, on and off the field, you got to be make yourself a part of this team. So, my best friend in high school plays outside linebacker, defensive end starter, Brennan Byer at Michigan. I was stronger and still am stronger than him. So, you just got to be able to just keep pushing yourself, even if people are just saying you're just a kicker.
So he's your best friend, but Michigan game had to be sweet for you.
It was. But, he's a humble guy. I'm a humble guy. So, we just brush it off and, just talk to each other about how life's going.
All right, well, we'll have these folks, and Coach, you'll be the first coach to run the 60-second drill on the radio show here.
All right,
so it's going to have a little
it.
bit of a twist to it. We'll have the 60-second drill coming up right after this time out on the Brian Kelly Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House. Welcome back to the Brian Kelly Radio Show. Road game or not, we have a packed house, which when you're ranked 5th in the country and are playing the number 2 team, the house should be packed. And this is always, the fans say this is their favorite part of the show. So you guys can, converse, answer them individually. I'm going to switch them a little bit up for Coach Booker. So his will be Coach's questions. But the first one for everybody is favorite all-time movie.
Blindside.
Blindside?
The Longest Yard.
Coming to America.
Coming
Eddie
to
Murphy.
America.
Oh,
I like that.
wow.
Yeah.
If you were a professor, what class would you teach?
History.
Phys ed.
Now, you're kind of a professor of football, but if you had to teach a class, what discipline would you choose it to be in?
I'd go with marketing.
Marketing?
It's a little bit with recruiting.
Oh, that would be good. You like to get up early or sleep in?
Get up early.
Get up early.
Like to get up early.
There's some skepticism here.
get up early.
You have evidence to the contrary?
I'm not going to say.
You're not going to
say.
Place anywhere in the world you would like to visit that you haven't been to yet?
Fiji.
Ooh.
That too, but I'll say Greece.
Greece?
I would say Kenya.
Kenya.
Yeah.
Great. Mount Kilimanjaro. That would be very interesting. What's your pregame routine?
Just stretch. Just
stretch.
chill, relax.
Yeah, go and get my ankles taped. Look through the game day program for a little bit. Get ready.
How about yours?
I watch the specialists on our team warm up, and then I watch the opponent specialists.
Okay. Which assistant coach is most like Coach Kelly?
Matt LaFleur.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
I agree.
They're unanimous. That's unanimous. You're not. Coach isn't feeling that. He's definitely not feeling that. The new turf in ND Stadium. How do you like it as a kicker?
Love it. So much better than grass.
As a tight end?
I love it.
As a coach?
I'm all for it.
How is it? Has it made your job a little easier?
Made it so much easier. I mean, you don't got to worry about kicking out of the bunker like spring game this past year. So it's not playing golf anymore. It's just hitting in the fairway.
Now, I got to break away from this just a second. There's a reason why you have one contributing factor to why you've got so many touchbacks this year. You care to share that? Did you used to play with some quarterbacks that liked the ball slightly deflated?
Yes. You know, Dane Chris, freshman year, liked the football was a little bit flat. Didn't really help.
And
but
Tommy did a little bit too?
Tommy
that was
did
for
a
grit?
little bit, and Everett, he likes some pumped up.
Like some pumped up.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
That's probably why he doesn't need the laces. I know you're working on that. All right, here's the fun part. Well, first of all, this will go for both of you. You'd have to be special teams for you. Toughest player to tackle on the team.
Say Greg Bryant. He's so shifty.
Toughest player to block on the team.
Probably Jalen. Yeah, he's just very versatile, very slippery, so he gets off blocks easy.
Who would you say the toughest player to tackle on the team would be?
I would probably have to go with Greg.
How about toughest player to block?
I would have to go with Jalen as well, or Sheldon Day. It depends on if you're an interior or offensive lineman, then Sheldon. But if you're out on the perimeter, then Jalen.
No, this is a very talented team off the field. So, best singer on the team.
Best singer on the team. Definitely not Scott Daly. I don't know. I would have to say Cam likes to sing a lot, but the one who sings the most is Max Redfield.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I could pretty much say half of the D-line section, even though
They all sing?
Yeah, they're not very good though. That's the problem.
But nobody will say anything to him.
Yeah, no one will say
Unless
anything.
it's Chase Honcho. He's the worst. He might be the worst.
From a coach's perspective, I will not ask you who the best singer on the coaching staff.
Okay.
I would not put you in that
Okay.
position.
All right.
Who's the best singer on the team, though, from a player perspective?
Best singer. Coach Denbrock would be the
Coach
the
Denbrock's
best.
the best singer on the
That
coaching
is
staff?
true. That is
Okay,
correct.
That's good to know. We got to get him on tape doing that at some point. Best dancer on the team.
Best dancer. I mean, Greg loves to dance. I mean, I don't know. Sheldon likes to dance too. He's got some weird dances.
I think he got him from his mom.
Probably. His mom is very crazy. And
I met
Sheldon
her,
is
yes.
too.
Who do you think the best dancer be?
I'd say a lot of the wide receivers are pretty good
Pretty
dancers.
good dancers?
Yeah, so I'd say like Amir maybe, even though people would probably disagree with me on that one. But I'd say like Amir, maybe Chris Brown. They're all pretty good dancers.
Well, it worked to keep the question open for coaches last time. So would there be a dancer on the coaching staff, do you think?
I'm not sure if there's a dancer on the coaching staff I haven't seen, but actually player-wise, Torrey Hunter, I was told, is
Really?
the best dancer. Yep.
Other players who've said that. Best comedian on the team.
Chase Honcho.
Chase is pretty hilarious.
Best comedian on the coaching staff.
Ooh.
In meetings. Has anybody ever cracked jokes in meetings? Do
Uh,
you allow that in meetings?
Coach Longo every now and then
Coach
has a
Longo.
one-liner.
I would, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Coach Longo does appear to have a dry sense of humor. Best dresser on the team.
Best dresser would have to go to Cam McDaniel.
Exactly. Cam McDaniel wears Lululemon all the time.
All the time.
Really. Best dresser on the coaching staff. Wow.
Best dressed on the coaching staff.
Coach is pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going to exclude Coach. You know, Chad Klunder
Really?
is a
He's solid. This is nice.
Okay. Worst dresser on the team.
Scott Daly, hands down. Scott Daly, worst.
The long snapper's getting hammered on this show, Scott Daly. How about?
Are you sure you want to hammer Scott now? Because he definitely has a lot to do with your success.
He can handle it.
Okay.
I said Jerron Jones last time. I think I was sick by that one.
Okay.
He has some questionable clothing choices.
Very good.
All right.
You're going
Worst dresser on the coaching staff.
Oh man.
Careful here.
I think everybody tries to,
Does pretty well.
handle
Come on.
There's good chemistry on the
You gotta,
coaching staff.
you gotta
I'm
pick
not
one
gonna-
person though.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there.
Player on the team most likely to become a football coach.
A football coach. To be honest, that might be Joe Schmidt. That's definitely
That's
Joe
a good
Schmidt.
answer.
One of the smartest kids I've seen football IQ-wise.
Yeah,
You agree?
I'd go somewhere, but I'd say Jarek Grace. The kid loves football. He loves
Mhm.
playing. He has a good mind for it.
Two good answers from a coaching
Yeah,
perspective.
I
You
would
see any?
have definitely said Joe Schmidt.
Joe Schmidt?
Joe Schmidt, definitely.
Best thing about playing for Notre Dame.
You know, not only being able to compete for national championships every year, being able to play such great games like this, you know, it's that degree that we're going to be able to have to come out of here with. And, you know, it's also experience off the field as well as on the field that sets us different and apart from other schools. So, you know, that's why we all came here for his two things, national championship and degree.
Yeah, first and foremost, obviously getting that degree from here. I mean, that's going to set you up for life. And just getting to represent the university itself on the biggest stage in front of as many people as whether it's millions of people watching or just 80,000 people in the stadium. It's a great experience.
Best thing about coaching at Notre Dame.
I would say two things. One is the student athletes that we're able to coach. They're awesome. And then the other thing is just what the university stands for. You know, from the top down, Father Jenkins and on down, just each university is a special place.
Coach Kelly, this was a good idea. We have the coach's perspective this time. I like this. Coach Booker, outstanding
Thanks a
job.
lot.
Ben, Kyle, great job tonight. Good luck Saturday against Florida State. We'll be back with more of the Brian Kelly Radio Show live from O'Rourke's Public House, presented by TireRack.com right after this. Welcome back to the Brian Kelly Radio Show. We have an enthusiastic crowd here for the head coach of the fifth-ranked and undefeated Fighting Irish. Brett Lesniak is here from Dowagiac, Michigan. Coach, what was your favorite memory of your first national championship at Grand Valley State?
Watching Brent Lesniak run. Brent played for me. He was outstanding player, and he was probably one of the fastest guys I coached. But that team was one where we had built it together. In other words, we started as I think we were, I don't know, 6-5 team, and we were a bunch of freshmen, and we stayed together. And you know, in their senior year, they won a national championship. So that building process was the fun part about it.
Have you found through all the stops that you've made that there are just basic fundamentals of coaching and building a program that are successful at every level where you coach?
Oh, I think so. I think the fundamentals are, you know, first of all, creating a foundation where, you know, everybody is in it together. In other words, you know, the principles that you talk about on a day-to-day basis, everybody has to buy into those. And it starts with, you know, the team, you know, and everybody has to give up something. Brent Lesniak, for example, was one of the best high school players, but he had to give up something. We had 2 other running backs that year. We had 3 running backs that were all great players, and they all had to share the football. So, you know, there are obviously things that you have to give up if you want to have a great team. It's a team sport. It's not about individuals. So I think the great teams always have had to give up something for the team, and that's where you start.
You know, I think some people do think that we duck questions on the show or I edit them all out. And if they're, in fact, he gave me instructions the first year, don't do that. So unless they're outrageous, we ask most of them. And I'm asking this one, Coach, because you gave a great answer to it in your press conference. This is from Jerry Liss of South Bend. In 2012, you would occasionally sit Golson down for a series. Why don't you do that again this season and play Malik for a series?
Well, in 2012, we had an experienced quarterback behind him in Tommy Rees, who took a lot of snaps and won football games. We don't have that in Malik Zaire. So we're always going to do what is in best interest of the program as it relates to winning games. And so Everett gives us the best chance to win games, whereas a combination of Everett and Tommy in certain situations in 12 gave us the best chance to win games. So ever gives us the best chance to win games regardless of the situation. That's why there's no talk of Malik going into the game unless there's an injury.
And Tommy's really been embraced now when he comes back, but I think the average fan doesn't realize just how good he was. He ranks in the top 5 in about a dozen Notre Dame all-time quarterbacking categories. He wasn't just an experienced quarterback. He was a really good quarterback.
And he was a winning quarterback, and he played as a true freshman. And so, you know, he was unseated by a freshman and had, you know, obviously won a lot of games along the way. Had just beaten Miami in the Sun Bowl. Played extremely well, and then the next year he's not the starter. So, you know, you got a pretty good player there that's sitting on the bench. And if a guy is struggling, learning, he was a great guy to go to, and that's why we use both of them.
This question's not signed, but it's a good question. How is Kyle McCarthy?
He's doing very well. You know, I don't want to talk about somebody else's medical condition because that's a personal thing in nature, but he's an incredibly inspirational young man that has battled through his sickness with incredible resolve and got some great news that he's got things under control. He's just finished his chemo, and his latest report was really, really good. So we're really pleased and hopeful that things continue on that track.
That is great news.
Great news.
And you learn this with Pocky. They say attitude has a lot to do with beating diseases like that. Every time I'm over in the Goog, he's there, and he always has a giant smile on his face.
He's got an incredible attitude. I mean, he just every day, you know, when you have something like that on your mind, he came over to the Goog to get that off his mind. So we didn't talk about it. We just, you know, treated him like every other coach and went to work every day, and that's why we're just so happy for him right now, and great to have him around.
We have lots more questions for Coach. We have lots more time. We also have lots more sponsors. So let's hear from some of them right now on the Brian Kelly Radio Show. Welcome back to the Brian Kelly Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House. Now, you've probably noticed my end-of-show time management isn't as good as your 2-minute drill all the time. So I do want to remind you, next week is an open date. So there's no show next Thursday, but we'll be back again in 2 weeks before the Navy game. We also want to welcome your on-campus recruiting coordinator, Megan Witt's here with some of her colleagues. These are your on-campus Notre Dame recruiting ambassadors.
Yes.
They're from both Notre Dame and St. Mary's, and they really help you out, especially on big recruiting weekend.
Yeah, they do a great job. As you can see, they're not only very bright, they're outstanding, students, but they're great with our recruits as well. They're funny. They're obviously look at the signs they brought in.
Ring by Spring, I like that one.
You the best. I love BK. See, they take direction very well.
They've already understood the dynamics.
They
of
knew the
getting
dynamics
promotions.
exactly.
Yes.
So, but they're a fun group, and they do a great job with our recruits on campus, and they're each and every weekend. And Megan's done a great job of recruiting them and having them have really a positive effect on our recruiting. Our recruiting is great, and our ambassadors have a lot to do with that.
I know Sundays are big recruiting days. When I go over to interview you for your TV show, I see them running all over the building and taking care of whatever needs to be taken care of. And that's so important. You need the recruits to have the best possible experience when they're on campus.
Well, and they communicate well, and they know the university very well, and they act as great hosts for their time here.
Bill is here from Granger, coach. With Collinsworth's experience and leadership, is he now able to assist the younger players who are now playing safety during the games?
Yeah, well, obviously, unfortunately, he got injured, and he's going to be out for a few weeks, but he'll travel with us. He'll be an integral part of all of our meetings. He'll be on the sideline with those guys, and he can really be a coach for us on the sideline with those guys and helping them a lot.
Paul, who claims to be from Naples, Florida, is here.
All
and
right.
His question is, are you going to be on College game day Saturday?
I hope not. I'm going to be busy. I'll let that,
We'll let Jimbo handle it.
I'll let Jimbo.
Hosting it.
He's hosting it. It's his deal. He can take it. It's up to him.
Michael J. Lenich, the second, is here from South Bend. Coach, do you prepare your players for the NFL, like what to expect, et cetera, or are you totally focused on teaching your players to play the game at the college level?
No, I think there's obviously a little bit of both. I mean, I think you're always talking about the present with your football team and your players, but as they get into their senior year and they start to lose their eligibility or get to that end of eligibility, you're starting to prepare them for that next step, and that's part of the process. And we talk about agents, we talk about obviously the things that they have to do to prepare themselves for the next step. But we obviously want their time and their focus to be on Notre Dame and playing for Notre Dame. So we understand that there is that next step for them. And look, we've had 18 players drafted over the last 3 years. There's only a couple of schools that have had more. So that's going to happen here at Notre Dame. But we want to obviously there's a fine balance there about playing for Notre Dame and then getting that opportunity for the NFL.
And you have a wall in the Goog with all of the NFL helmets and the list of the players who have played for each team. But it seems pretty obvious that if you play well at Notre Dame and excel at Notre Dame, that next step will just happen.
It's an on-Broadway play. Everybody's going to see you. So if you're a good enough football player at Notre Dame, you're going to get recognized. And I think, we've shown that, as well as get your degree. So, that obviously is a big part of preparing them for the NFL as well, is that it's a lot better playing in the NFL when you want to play and like to play instead of having to play because you don't have a degree. So we try to obviously get our kids to understand that it's better to have a degree when you go to the NFL than not.
Kevin Doherty's here from South Bend. Coach, are you worried about Jameis Winston's mobility after Marquise Williams had success against you with his legs on Saturday?
Not in the level that Marquise Williams. I mean, Marquise was a running quarterback. I mean, those were designed runs. Jameis is certainly mobile and can run and is extremely athletic. Don't get me wrong, but the game plan would be set differently than it would be for Marquise. We have to defend more than just a quarterback run. We've got many more things that have to be defended out there. So. Our defensive structure will certainly pay attention to rush lanes and things of that nature, but we'll have to be concerned with other things as well.
We have a few more questions, and we have a little more time. But first, this final timeout. The Brian Kelly Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House, presented by TireRack.com. Welcome back to the Brian Kelly Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House. The Fighting Irish are ranked 5th in the country in both polls after getting off to an impressive 6-0 start. If you would like to root on the Irish in person, but you don't have tickets yet, believe it or not, there are some still available for the November 22nd Louisville game through the Notre Dame ticket office. For more information, log on to und.com/tickets. Give the ticket office a call at 574-631-7356 or stop by the ticket office in the Purcell Pavilion lobby from 8:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. And certainly not looking ahead this Saturday, but Louisville's going to be a big game regardless of what happens Saturday. They're good.
Navy, Northwestern, Arizona State, Louisville, USC. Who put this schedule together, Jack Nolan? Was that you?
It wasn't me.
Oh.
I'm not at that pay grade yet. I know it wasn't you.
And we got Florida State, too. So, it's just it gets tougher and tougher. But, we'll start with Florida State, and then we'll go from there.
Landon from South Bend wants to know, what is the most hostile, toughest road venue you have coached in?
Oh, boy. There's been some real difficult ones. I'd probably say that Michigan a couple of years ago, when they had that 106,000. That was difficult to hear in there. It was loud. And then the first quarter against Oklahoma was loud and hostile pregame. It quieted down after that, though.
And you've got a bunch of guys on this team that played at Oklahoma. That will help Saturday.
Oh, no question. I mean, we've got a number of players that have played, at USC, at Oklahoma, in the national championship game. So we've got a lot of guys that have been in that environment. So the young guys, it doesn't matter anyways, but the veterans have been through it. So, there's enough there that understand what's at stake.
Most games, you're most focused on doing what you do, executing your game plan. Mm-hmm. Is that the case for this weekend too, or are there specific things you have to focus on in terms of Florida State as well?
No, I think it's I think in these games, you have to be at your best and do what you do, but you also have to know the strengths and weaknesses of your opponent, and really have to be able to, understand what they do well, because they've won 22 in a row. So it's not just going to be about you. You have to find ways to beat them as well. And so I think in these kinds of games, you have to be able to find areas where you can move the ball, be effective, throw them off their timing offensively. Because, again, you got to take the belt from them. They're the defending national championship team, and they've won 22 in a row. So, yeah, it's about you in a large degree, but you also have to know your opponent and find ways that you can move the ball and be effective against them.
Coach, thank you. Good luck Saturday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That'll do it for this week. We're back in 2 weeks. Until then, thanks for coming out. Thanks for listening, and go Irish.